So Psalm 119, section 11, when. And this section of the Psalm teaches us, shows us how to respond when we're in danger, when there is persecution, when we're waiting for God's justice to come. And the people of God have always had to face a spiritual enemy. Satan has always sought to destroy and eradicate the purpose and the people of God. You know, whether it was the Jewish nation in Egypt at the time, whether it was the trying to take Jesus out with the slaughter, genocide of the under-twos, the birth of Jesus, and around that time by Herod, whether it's the persecution of the church right through the centuries or all around the world, and it will continue until Jesus returns. Let's look at verse 87. The psalmist writes, "They almost wiped me from the earth." But we also see the responses that come from this. And back in verse 81, where this section starts, he says, "My soul faints with longing for your salvation, but I've put my hope in your word. My eyes fail looking for your promise." His soul faints, his eyes fail, his inner and outer being are exhausted from waiting and longing for God to work. Verse 83, he felt like a dried up wineskin thrown aside, but he never gives up hope. We may faint, but we still hope. And then over in verse 84, they ask the questions, "How long must your servant wait? When will you punish my persecutors?" These are questions that are often asked by the persecuted and even the martyrs in heaven in Revelation 6. It can be hard enough to wait for things that we can see. I mean, you've probably stood in a COVID supermarket queue recently and you can see the end and you realise how long it is that before you're going to get in. Maybe you even remember back to a tailback on a motorway. Remember those days? But how hard it is when we have to wait for things that we can't see. Hebrews 6 verse 12 reminds us that it is through faith and patience that we inherit all that God has for us. And Romans 15:4 speaks of the importance of the scriptures and encouraging us in this as well. Our trials will produce patience. So we question, rightly so, but we wait with hope. And thirdly, we trust and we're revived. Verse 86, we read this, "All your commands are trustworthy." So we trust that God will come through. Maybe you feel like defeat is very near. Well, take a promise of God and rely on his love, because he is a loving Father. He loves you too much for ultimate harm in your life. He is for you and he is with you. And it's often said that when we're in the furnace of affliction, God keeps his hand on the thermostat and his eye on the clock. He knows how hot and he knows how long. And when we walk by faith, there will often be difficulty, turmoil, and a sense of weakness. But as we draw on God's words, it will bring us peace and it will bring us power. And so the psalmist ends by praying for new life and God revives him. Amen.